peoples of the internet. My name is William. Some people call me the Math Hatter. And the math part of my name may cause some of you to run in fear and shriek for your lives and hide in the hills. And I understand that. Math is big. Math is intimidating. Math is scary and hard to comprehend. But at the same time, math is interesting. Math isn't quite like anything else. Math is not quite like music, where there are rules and not rules. There are always rules in math. Math isn't quite like literature, where you can get away with writing literal lies and nonsense. You can't get away with writing lies in math. Math is something interesting entirely. And to start with, I don't want to get into the complicated stuff immediately. I mean, I will be going on the basis of like middle school algebra, and we'll go into the weird and wonderful stuff later on. But I want to start with just one thing that I think all of us use wrong. Yes, this is the number one. No, I'm not pranking you. Yes, the number one. We all use it wrong every day. And that may seem hard to believe because one is basically the simplest thing out there. Everyone knows what one is. Everyone. Well, I mean, some people wouldn't recognize it as this. Some people just use tally marks, so they'd write one. Some people, if they're old school, will write it one. Some people, if they're chemists, write it one. That's a joke. But even ignoring the writing and even further methods of writing one, like Chinese, Arabic, Greek. No, wait, Greeks use the same. Japanese, Korean. Actually, going back to Arabic, these are called, the middle one, Arabic numerals. Arabia doesn't use them anymore. Fun fact. That's a long story for a different time. One doesn't have a meaning in the way that we think of things having meanings. Like, this is a pen. This is a black pen. This is a pen with ink in it. We know what pen and ink and black are, and we can actually define them. We can describe them specifically. This is another pen. Now, going by the mathematical thing, 1 and 1 is 2. These aren't quite two things, though, because they're different. This is black, this is blue. Well, okay, you might say, but they're close enough. They're close enough. Surely we could consider them two things. Okay, what about this? This is a pen, and this is a fake candle. Are those two things? Well, yes, they're two things, but they're not two pens. They're not two candles. They're just two things. In order to get any meaningful use out of what we might consider the formula 1 plus 1 equals 2, you kind of have to cheat a little. You kind of have to say, well, only if the two things are literally identical in every single way, shape, and possibility. Which obviously isn't true of anything. No two things are exactly alike in the entire universe. Let me be very clear. The entire universe. There are no two things which are exactly the same. So technically, this formula is always wrong. Because there are no two ones which are identical. This could be 1.000000001, and that would be different. And then you'd have a different formula. Or if you're just talking about like amounts of liquids, if you pour 1 cup of water into 1 cup of water, yes, you have 2 cups, but you still only have 1 amount of water. So you put a 1 and a 1 together and you got back one solid thing. Which is weird and strange and uncomfortable to think about. But that's because we have such a rigid definition of 1, and it's also such a wrong definition of 1. 1 doesn't mean anything. You can't touch 1. You can touch one watermelon, but you can't touch 1. We use it as a noun all the time. That 1. Well, that kind of thing is specifically in English, but that 1 is a very useful phrase, and it doesn't mean anything, because there's no 1 to actually talk about in the real world. 1 doesn't exist. But you can use it very efficiently in almost anything you want to. 1, 2. Because 1 is an abstraction. 1 takes all the things that are kind of separate and it puts them together in one chunk. And it says, these are things that are 1. You can add them together and you get things that are 2. If you add more, you get things that are 3 and 4 and 5. It's an abstraction. You can, in math, in the real world, you cannot remove 1 from anything. In math, you can remove 1 from anything and still have something meaningful left over. Because math is very rigorous, but also very different from the way that we define 1 in real life. Everything in math can be traced back to real world stuff. It just isn't all the time. Also, I completely apologize if you were attempting, or you were thinking that this was going to be math tutoring right off the bat. I apologize for that. I just felt that this was necessary to get down. Math is not the real world. Math is abstract. Math has its own rules. And once you learn those rules, you can get very interesting results. But you have to step into the world of math first. You can't bring the world of math with you. You can't bring the real world with you as you go into math. They're two different things. The real world and the mathematical world. And hopefully I can be your tour guide on this weird, wacky thing we call math. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.